Caleb Thorne looked at his hands. They were large, calloused, and despite scrubbing them with heavy-duty pumice soap for the last 10 minutes, the faint, dark lines of grease were still embedded in his fingerprints. He smelled of 10W, 30 motor oil, old iron, and exhaustion. He was 32 years old, but he felt 50. "You're not backing out," a voice said from the doorway of the small, cramped bathroom. Caleb looked up into the mirror to see his best friend, Sam, leaning against the frame with a smirk. Sam was the only reason Caleb was wearing a collared shirt instead of his usual mechanic's coveralls. "Sam, look at me," Caleb said, his voice raspy from a day spent welding a rusted exhaust on a '68 Mustang. "I'm a mechanic. I live in a rental duplex that smells like damp drywall. My bank account has 3 digits, and the first one is a 1. Why are you doing this to me?" "Because you're a catch, you idiot," Sam said, straightening Caleb's collar. "And because my wife, Tina, says this woman is different. She's not looking for a wallet. She's looking for a man." Caleb snorted. "Yeah, well, in this city, those two things are usually synonymous." He walked out of the bathroom and into the small living room. It was tidy, painfully so. The furniture was second-hand, a mismatch of beige and plaid, but there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere. In the corner, a small mountain of colorful plastic blocks, a moon base in progress, sat on a rug. That was his life. The blocks, the moon base, and the 7-year-old girl currently asleep in the other room. "Maya is set?" Caleb asked, checking his watch. "Tina is already here. She's in the kitchen making tea. Maya loves her. Go." Sam pushed him toward the door. "Stop thinking about your ex. Stop thinking about your bank balance. Just go have a drink. If it's terrible, you can leave in 30 minutes and blame the babysitter." Caleb grabbed his keys, not to a fancy sports car, but to a battered 2016 Ford F-150 with 200,000 miles on it. "Who is she again?" "Isabella." "Isabella. She's an interior designer or architect or something." Tina was vague. "Just go." Caleb stepped out into the cool October evening. The wind bit at his cheeks. He felt that familiar knot of anxiety in his stomach, the one that had been there for 5 years, ever since the day he came home to find a note on the kitchen counter and an empty closet. "I can't do this anymore. I'm too young to be a mother. I'm sorry, Jessica." The name still tasted like ash. She hadn't just left him. She had left Maya. She had looked at their 2-year-old daughter and decided that her freedom was worth more than that little girl's heart. Since then, Caleb had built a fortress around his life. It was just him and Maya. He worked 6 days a week at the garage, restoring classic cars for rich men who didn't know how to change their own oil, and spent his Sundays at the park or the planetarium with Maya. He didn't date. He didn't have time for rejection. He didn't have the energy to explain why his life came as a package deal. He pulled up to the restaurant, the Gilded Oak. It was one of those places where the menu didn't list prices, and the valet looked at Caleb's truck with thinly veiled disdain. "Keep it close, pal," Caleb muttered, handing the valet the keys. "The transmission is touchy in second gear." He walked toward the entrance, checking his reflection in the glass door. He looked like what he was, a blue-collar guy trying to clean up nice. He felt like an imposter. He turned to leave. He actually rotated his body, hand on the doorframe, ready to bolt back to his truck and go home to watch cartoons with Maya. Just one drink, he told himself. For Sam. He took a deep breath, pushed the heavy oak door open, and stepped inside. The interior of the Gilded Oak was warm, bathed in soft, amber light. Jazz music played softly, real jazz, not the elevator kind. Couples sat in plush leather booths, clinking crystal glasses. The air smelled of expensive perfume and truffle oil. Caleb felt the grease under his fingernails burning. He tugged at his cuffs. "Reservation for Vance?" he asked the hostess. "Ah, yes. Ms. Vance is already seated." The hostess gave Caleb a quick up-and-down glance. It wasn't mean, just confused. She led him through the dining room toward a secluded table by the floor-to-ceiling window overlooking the city skyline. Caleb prepared himself. He expected someone high maintenance. He expected a woman checking her watch, looking bored, perhaps scrolling through her phone with a look of annoyance that her blind date was late. Instead, he saw her. Isabella Vance was staring out at the city lights. She wasn't looking at her phone. Her hands were wrapped around a glass of white wine, not in a nervous way, but in a way that suggested she was savoring the temperature of the glass. She was stunning. Not in a flashy, Instagram model way, but in a timeless, elegant way. She wore a charcoal gray dress that looked simple, but probably cost more than Caleb's truck. Her dark hair fell in soft waves over one shoulder. Her profile was sharp, intelligent, and oddly sad. Caleb froze. This is a mistake, he thought. Sam, you idiot. This woman is out of my league. She's out of my species. He almost turned around again. But then she turned her head. Her eyes met his. They were a striking shade of hazel, flecked with gold. And when she saw him, she didn't look disappointed. She didn't look at his cheap shoes or his rough hands. She smiled. And it was a real smile. It reached her eyes. Caleb, she asked. Her voice was lower than he expected, warm and smooth like excellent bourbon. Yeah, that's me. Caleb cleared his throat, forcing his legs to move. Isabella. Please, call me Bella. She gestured to the chair opposite her. I was worried you weren't coming. I hear blind dates have a 50% flake rate. I almost did, Caleb admitted, sitting down. His honesty surprised him. I was halfway back to the valet stand. Bella laughed. It was a genuine sound, not a polite titter. I'm glad you didn't. I ordered the calamari, and I'd hate to eat it alone. A waiter appeared, looking skeptically at Caleb. Drink for the gentleman? Beer, Caleb said instinctively. Then he caught himself. Actually, just water. I'm driving. Bella looked at him, her eyebrows raising slightly. Responsible. I like that. The tension in Caleb's shoulders dropped an inch. So, what did Tina tell you about me? She said you fix things, Bella said, leaning her chin on her hand. She said you can take a pile of rusted metal and turn it into a work of art. And she said you're the most decent man she knows, but you don't believe it. Caleb felt a flush of heat climb up his neck. Tina talks too much. She also said you have a daughter. The air left the table. This was it. The checkpoint. The moment where the date usually ended. Caleb braced himself for the usual polite withdrawal. That must be hard, followed by the check. Yeah, Caleb said, his voice firming up. He wouldn't apologize for Maya. Never. Maya. She's 7. Bella didn't flinch. She didn't look for the exit. Instead, she leaned forward. 7 is a magical age. That's when the world is still big and full of mysteries, but they're old enough to ask questions that stump you. What's she like? Caleb blinked. You want to know about her? I'm on a date with her father, Bella said simply. She's the biggest part of your life, isn't she? Why wouldn't I want to know? Caleb looked at her, searching for the trap. There was none, just genuine curiosity. She's intense, Caleb smiled, and this time, the smile reached his own eyes. She wants to be an astrophysicist. Last week she cried because Pluto got demoted from being a planet. She said it was unfair bullying of small celestial bodies. Bella threw her head back and laughed. I love that. A girl with a sense of cosmic justice. She's my whole world, Caleb said quietly. Her mom left when she was 2. It's just been us. So, if you're looking for someone who can fly to Paris on a weekend or go clubbing until 3 a.m., I'm not your guy. I'm a package deal. A messy, loud, Lego-filled package. He waited for the rejection. Bella picked up her wine glass, swirling the liquid. Do you know why I agreed to this date, Caleb? Because Tina wouldn't shut up? Because I'm tired of perfect, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. I work in a world of surfaces. I'm the CEO of Vance Architecture. I spend my days dealing with multi-million-dollar contracts, egos the size of skyscrapers, and men who want me as a trophy to put on their arm at galas. They want the CEO. They don't want me. She looked him dead in the eye. Tina told me you were real. She said you have grease under your nails because you actually work. She said you stayed when things got hard. That's rare, Caleb. In my world, when things get hard, people just buy a replacement. Caleb stared at her. You're a CEO? She winced playfully. Does that scare you? No, Caleb lied. It terrified him. But I make about 40 grand a year on a good year. You probably make that in a week. Does money make you a better father? She asked. No. Does it make you kinder? Or more loyal? No. Then it's irrelevant to me, Bella said firmly. I have my own money. I don't need a provider. I need a partner. I need someone who knows who they are. She reached across the table, a bold move, and brushed her fingers against his hand. Her skin was soft, warm. Don't discount yourself, Caleb Thorne. You're the most interesting thing that's happened to me in months. The date lasted 3 hours. They talked about everything. Caleb talked about the satisfaction of tuning an engine until it purred like a living thing. Bella talked about the pressure of her father's legacy and the loneliness of the glass ceiling. When they walked out to the parking lot, the contrast was stark. The valet brought around a sleek, black Aston Martin. Then he brought around Caleb's Ford F-150, which let out a slight squeal as it braked. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck. Nice car. It's a company car, Bella shrugged. It has no soul. I bet yours has stories. Mostly stories about needing new brake pads, Caleb quipped. Call me, Bella said. She didn't hand him a business card. She took his phone and typed her number in. I mean it. I want to meet the astrophysicist. Caleb drove home in a daze. When he walked into his duplex, he relieved Tina. Well, Tina whispered, putting on her coat. Did you crash and burn? She's incredible, Caleb whispered back. And way too good for me. Shut up, Tina hissed. You're a king. Remember that. 2 days later, Caleb was in the garage, covered in grime, when his phone buzzed. A text. Bella, I found a book on the Kuiper Belt. Can I bring it over? Or is it too soon for a home invasion? Caleb stared at the screen. He looked down at his dirty coveralls. He looked at the shop. Then he typed back. Caleb, Maya gets home at 4. We're having grilled cheese. It's not fancy. Bella, I love grilled cheese. See you at 4:30. Panic set in. Caleb rushed home early, showered twice, and frantically tidied the already tidy living room. When Maya got off the school bus, she looked at him suspiciously. Why are you wearing the good shirt, Daddy? Maya asked, dropping her backpack. She was a small girl with wild curly hair and glasses that were slightly too big for her face. A friend is coming over, Caleb said. Her name is Bella. She likes space too. Does she know about the James Webb Telescope? Maya asked skeptically. I think so. You can quiz her. When Bella arrived, she wasn't wearing the designer dress. She was wearing jeans and a soft cream sweater. She carried a grocery bag and a large hardcover book. Hi, she said, standing on his porch. She looked even more beautiful in the daylight. Hi, Caleb breathed. I brought fancy cheese for the sandwiches. Hope that's okay. Gruyere. Caleb stepped aside. Come in. But be warned, the interrogation is about to begin. Maya was sitting at the kitchen table, her arms crossed. She looked like a tiny, strict judge. Bella walked right up to her and didn't talk down to her. She sat in the chair opposite her. Hello, Maya. I'm Bella. I come in peace. Maya narrowed her eyes. Daddy says you like space. I do, Bella said. She pulled the book from her bag. I saw this and thought of you. It has the new high-res photos of Jupiter. Maya's eyes widened. She reached for the book, flipping it open. Whoa, look at the great red spot. It's shrinking, you know. It is, Bella agreed. Storms don't last forever. Even on Jupiter. Maya looked up at Bella, assessing her. Then, she looked at Caleb. She can stay for dinner, Daddy. But she has to cut the crusts off. Caleb exhaled. The evening was domestic. It was terrifyingly normal. Bella moved around Caleb's small, outdated kitchen as if she belonged there. She grated cheese. She laughed when Caleb burned the first sandwich. She listened raptly as Maya explained the difference between a meteor and a meteorite. Later, after Maya had gone to bed, Caleb and Bella sat on the small porch steps, drinking cheap beer. She's amazing, Bella said softly. She's a handful, Caleb corrected, but he was beaming. You're a good father, Caleb. I see how she looks at you. You're her gravity. Caleb looked down at his hands. I worry it's not enough. I worry she's missing out because I can't give her all of that. He waved a hand toward the city, toward Bella's world. You give her time, Bella said fiercely. My father was a great man. A rich man. He bought me ponies and cars. But he never sat and listened to me talk about Jupiter for 40 minutes. You're giving her the only thing that matters. She leaned in and kissed him. It tasted like Gruyere and beer and hope. For 3 months, life was perfect. It was the kind of perfect that makes you look over your shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Caleb and Bella fell into a rhythm. She would come over on weekends. They went to the park. She brought Caleb to a few of her boring work functions, where Caleb, terrified at first, realized that most of the wealthy men in suits were actually fascinated by his knowledge of classic cars. He wasn't the outcast he thought he was. He was the authentic one in a room of fakes. Then, the shoe dropped. It happened on a Tuesday. Caleb was picking Maya up from school. As he walked her to the truck, holding her hand, a silver Mercedes SUV pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Caleb. The voice stopped his heart. He froze. Maya looked up. Who is that, Daddy? Caleb turned slowly. Jessica sat in the driver's seat. She looked different. Older, harder, but expensive. Her hair was blonde now, and she wore sunglasses that probably cost more than Caleb's rent. Jessica, Caleb said, his voice flat. He instinctively squeezed Maya's hand. Is that her? Jessica took off her sunglasses, staring at Maya. Maya, get in the truck, Caleb said quietly. But Daddy, get in the truck, Maya. Now. Maya scrambled into the cab. Caleb shut the door and turned to his ex-wife. What are you doing here, he hissed. I moved back, Jessica said. She got out of the car. She was wearing heels. My husband. Well, ex-husband now. We transferred back to the city. I wanted to see her. You haven't called in 5 years, Caleb said, his hands shaking with rage. You haven't sent a card. A birthday present. Nothing. I was going through things, Caleb. I was young. You were a mother, Caleb shouted, causing a few other parents to look over. He lowered his voice. You don't get to walk back in. You signed the papers. Sole custody. You gave her up. Jessica crossed her arms. I've changed. I have money now. I can give her things you can't. Look at you, Caleb. You're still driving this piece of junk? You're still covered in grease. I'm the one who raised her, Caleb said, stepping into her space. I'm the one who held her when she had the flu. I'm the one who taught her to read. You're a stranger. I'm her mother, Jessica said coldly. And I have a lawyer. I want visitation. I want to make up for lost time. Don't fight me on this, Caleb. You can't afford a legal battle. I can. She got back in her car and drove away. Caleb stood on the curb, feeling like the world was collapsing. He got into the truck. Maya was staring at him, wide-eyed. Who was that lady? Caleb swallowed the lump in his throat. We'll talk about it at home, Peanut. That night, Caleb sat at his kitchen table, staring at a stack of bills. A lawyer. He needed a lawyer. But a retainer for a custody battle would cost $10,000 minimum. He had $400 in savings. He felt the old shame washing over him. I'm not enough. His phone buzzed. It was Bella. Bella, thinking about you. Want to come over? Caleb hesitated. He didn't want to burden her. He didn't want to be the charity case. But he was drowning. He drove to her place, a penthouse apartment downtown. When she opened the door and saw his face, she pulled him inside immediately. What happened? He told her everything. He told her about Jessica, the threats, the money, the fear that he would lose Maya because he was poor. She said she can give her things I can't. Caleb choked out, tears stinging his eyes. And she's right. She deserves everything. Bella listened quietly. She poured him a glass of whiskey. She sat beside him on the sofa and held his hand until he stopped shaking. Caleb, look at me. He looked up. She's trying to bully you, Bella said, her voice hard as steel. She thinks because she married rich and divorced rich, she can buy a child's affection. She thinks you're weak because you're not wealthy. I can't afford a lawyer, Bella. If she takes me to court, she won't win, Bella said. Courts look at stability. Who has been there? Who is the primary bond? But the money. Stop, Bella stood up. She paced the room, her eyes flashing. This woman thinks she can just waltz in? No, absolutely not. She turned to Caleb. You have something she doesn't. What? You have me. Caleb shook his head. Bella, I can't ask you for money. I won't. That changes everything between us. I'm not giving you money, Bella said. I'm giving you a fight. My firm has lawyers on retainer. Sharks who eat people like Jessica for breakfast. I'm going to lend you the best family attorney in the state. You can pay me back by fixing my transmission. Deal, Bella. Deal, she demanded. Caleb looked at this woman, this powerful, successful, incredible woman who was standing in her living room, ready to go to war for him. Deal, he whispered. The meeting was set for 2 weeks later. Neutral ground. A conference room at a mediator's office. Caleb wore his best suit, one Bella had helped him pick out. He looked sharp. He looked capable. Bella sat beside him, not as his lawyer, but as his partner. His actual lawyer, a woman named Patricia who terrified Caleb in the best way possible, sat at the head of the table. Jessica walked in with her lawyer. She looked confident, smug. She barely glanced at Caleb. Then, she saw Bella. Jessica froze. She recognized her. Everyone in the city recognized Isabella Vance. She was on the cover of magazines. She was social royalty. What is she doing here? Jessica asked, her voice faltering slightly. Ms. Vance is my client's partner and a significant figure in the child's life, Patricia said smoothly. Shall we begin? The next hour was a bloodbath, but not for Caleb. Jessica's lawyer started listing Caleb's financial shortcomings. Mr. Thorne lives in a rental. His income is unstable. My client can offer private schools, travel, cultural enrichment. Patricia waited for them to finish. Then she slid a folder across the table. Mr. Thorne, Patricia began, has provided a stable, loving, continuous home for 5 years. He has attended every parent-teacher conference. He has documented medical records showing he is the sole caregiver. Meanwhile, your client has been absent for 1,825 days. Patricia leaned forward. Furthermore, regarding financial instability, Mr. Thorne is currently expanding his business. He has just secured a contract to restore the classic fleet for the Vance Corporation. His financial future is quite secure. Caleb looked at Bella in surprise. She squeezed his hand under the table. Later, her eyes set. Jessica looked at Caleb. She looked at Bella, who was radiating protective, alpha female energy. She looked at the reality of the situation. Caleb wasn't the lonely, broke mechanic she could push around. He was a man with a foundation. If you pursue this, Patricia said coldly, we will countersue for 5 years of back child support. Based on your divorce settlement from your second husband, that sum will be substantial. Jessica paled. The arrogance vanished. She was just a woman who had made a mistake and realized she couldn't buy her way out of it. I just wanted to see her, Jessica whispered. Then ask, Caleb spoke up. His voice was calm. He wasn't afraid anymore. Don't threaten. Don't try to buy her. Ask me. Because I'm her father, and I decide what's best for her. Jessica looked down. Can I see her? Just for an hour? Caleb looked at Bella. Bella nodded slightly. We'll start with a supervised visit, Caleb said. At the park. With me present. If she's uncomfortable, it ends. And you never, ever talk about taking her away again. Or you will never see us again. Jessica nodded, tears leaking from her eyes. Okay. Walking out of the office, Caleb felt lighter than air. He loosened his tie. Did you mean that? Caleb asked Bella as they reached the elevator. About the contract? Restoring the fleet? My company owns 3 vintage Jaguars and a Rolls-Royce that haven't run in a decade, Bella said. They're sitting in a warehouse. I need the best mechanic in the city to fix them. I'm willing to pay top dollar. Do you know anyone? Caleb laughed, grabbing her by the waist and pulling her close. I might know a guy, but he's expensive. I can handle him, Bella smiled. The visit with Jessica happened a week later. It was awkward. It was sad. Maya was polite, but distant. She held Caleb's hand the entire time. When Jessica tried to give her an expensive doll, Maya shook her head. I have Legos, Maya said. Bella got me the Saturn V rocket set. It has 1,969 pieces. Jessica looked at Caleb, then at Bella, who was waiting by the car. She realized then that she had lost something she could never buy back. She had lost the right to be the center of Maya's world. You did a good job, Caleb, Jessica said quietly before she left. She's amazing. I know, Caleb said. Jessica left town a month later. She realized there was no place for her in the life Caleb had built. 6 months later. The garage was different now. The sign out front said, Thorne Company. Restorations. It was busy. Caleb had hired Sam to help manage the workload. He wasn't rich, but he wasn't scraping by anymore. He was building a legacy. It was a Saturday night. Caleb, Bella, and Maya were in the backyard of the small house Caleb had just put a down payment on. It wasn't a mansion, but it had a big yard and a clear view of the sky. Bella was looking through a telescope Caleb had bought for Maya. Saturn looks good tonight, Bella said. Let me see. Maya pushed in, squinting into the eyepiece. Whoa, the rings are tilted. Caleb stood back, watching them. The 2 women in his life. The little one who gave him purpose, and the woman who gave him strength. He reached into his pocket. His fingers brushed against the small velvet box. He had saved for 3 months for the ring. It wasn't the biggest diamond in the world, but it was flawless. Bella, Caleb asked. She turned around, smiling. Yeah. Maya, come here a second. Maya ran over. Caleb dropped to one knee. Bella gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Isabella, Caleb said, his voice thick with emotion. When I walked into that restaurant, I thought I was a joke. I thought I was broken. But you saw something in me I didn't see in myself. You chose me. You chose us. He opened the box. I can't promise you a life without grease, Caleb smiled. Or Legos on the floor. But I can promise you that you will never face a single day alone. I love you. We love you. Will you marry us? Bella was crying. Not the polite, single-tear crying of the movies, but messy, happy tears. Yes, she choked out. Yes, yes, yes. Caleb stood up and kissed her, lifting her off the ground. Maya cheered, jumping up and down. Group hug, Maya yelled. They huddled together under the stars. A mechanic, a CEO, and a future astrophysicist. Caleb looked up at the sky. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like he was looking into a void. He felt like he was home. He realized then that the satisfying life wasn't about proving his ex wrong, or showing up the valet, or even making money. It was this. It was the feeling of being known, being accepted, and being loved, Greece, baggage, and all.